So today I want to talk about the difference between a rear deploy and forward deploy broadhead and how that affects the kinetic energy from your arrow on impact. So in the outdoor industry, it's very comical to me because a lot of people say this is the best, that's the best, what I have is the best, and typically no, it's not. It may be a industry leading product, but it's not the best because if it was, there wouldn't be similar items in that same category still in business making money. Broadheads are no different. There is a whole plethora of awesome broadheads out there, fixed, mechanical. I mean, there's plenty of them. But what I want to talk to you about today and try to help you guys make up your own mind, because I think this will make a lot of sense, is how much kinetic energy your arrow is or isn't losing based off the style of deployment that your mechanical broadhead is. Now right here, I have two extremely popular mechanical broadheads. I have a G5 Megameat and I have a Swacker. These are just the two that I pulled off my rack for demonstration purposes. There's plenty of other rear deploy and a whole lot more forward deploy broadheads out there on the market. I'm just using these two for demonstration purposes. Start off with the G5 Megameat. So if you're unfamiliar with this broadhead, first off, shame on you because it's a phenomenal broadhead. The way it operates is it actually has a collar, oops, going the wrong way. It actually has a collar that holds the blades in place. I know a lot of people see y'all sliding, see that sliding right there? Don't worry, when you screw it onto your arrow, it actually pushes up and holds everything in place. It's nice and tight. I promise it don't rattle around in flight. But the interesting part of this design is you have, hold on, let me find something sharp. The interesting part about this design is you have flat spots on each of the blades. So on impact, as soon as the front of that broadhead hits the meat, it's gonna catch these flat spots and it's gonna do exactly as the name implies, rear deploy. So they're actually gonna pop out these little sockets that the collar, that the blades are held into by this collar and slide directly back. Not a whole lot of movement. Now, that does two things. One, it doesn't take a whole lot of kinetic energy out of your shot in order to deploy the blades themselves. And two, they slide back. So that means you're getting, with this particular broadhead, a 3-blade 2-inch entry, which to me is absolutely critical because we all know you don't always get a pass-through. We hope you get a pass-through. I hope I get a pass-through, but it doesn't always happen. So for me, on a mechanical broadhead, rear deploy is extremely important for that main reason, because if I'm using a small cutting diameter head and it's a front deploy, well, it typically has to go into the cavity, giving me like a inch, maybe less entry hole versus, you know, a 3-blade 2-inch hole on entry. And if I don't get a complete pass through, then typically all the blood from the cavity is just going to go straight into the bottom of the belly and you're not going to have much of a blood trail. So I want to open these one more time and pay attention to how much movement goes into these blades in order for them to deploy. So boom, back, oop, didn't go back all the way. Boom, back. This is way easier when you just shoot something. Boom, back. Now, of course, they would all come out at the same time, but just a little bit of slide of blade, so to speak, and they're open. So not a whole lot of kinetic energy is taken out of your shot in order to deploy all three heads or all three blades. Switching gears to the front deploy 207 Swacker. This is a 2-inch cutting diameter. Now, since we're switching gears to a front deploy, how this is going to operate is it has a little rubber band here, which is a proven way for broadheads, mechanical broadheads to fly, open, and kill deer. There's nothing wrong with it. But for demonstration purposes, I am going to have to take it off so I don't pop it, because I will have to resell this. So with this particular front deploy broadhead, on impact, this ferrule has to go in quite a ways before it hits these blades or these paddles, so to speak, to catch and actually open the blades. That's a lot of movement. Now it's open. That's a whole lot of movement, which is requiring a lot of kinetic energy out of your shot in order to deploy. And another thing, think about this. So pretend my fingers are the skin of a deer or something. The ferrule is passing through. Well, now the blades are hitting the outside of the skin. These blades are opening up inside the cavity. So just like what I talked about, you might be getting a inch and a quarter entry with these little paddles that help open, or not help, they are designed to open the blades, but you're not getting that 2-inch cut until it's already inside the cavity. So the only way you're gonna get a 2-inch cut on the outside is if you get a complete pass through. Once again, I'm not trying to take anything away from this head. This head has been around for a lot of years and killed thousands, if not tens of thousands of deer. But what I want you to take into consideration is your draw length and your poundage and your arrow weight. If you're running a lower poundage, or if you have a shorter draw length, like a 26 and a half, then you may want to, and you're wanting to stick with a mechanical head, you may want to look towards a rear deploy head, because it is going to take less kinetic energy out of your shot in order to deploy the blades. And I know some guys are going to jump in the comment section and say, well, I use that and I'm short and I use low poundage. Hey, that's great. If you've had success with it, stick with it. All I'm trying to do is give you something to think about and take in consideration when selecting your mechanical broadhead style. One last thing to take into consideration when you're selecting your mechanical broadhead is the actual length and cutting diameter. The bigger the blades, the more energy you're going to need to push it through that body cavity. So you may want to look towards something with a smaller cutting diameter as well, like the dead meats.